everybody, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Zach. Here we talk about overlanding, gear, builds, DIY, all sorts of stuff related to modifying your vehicle. And I have seen all the requests and I'm still working on, kind of doing all the content and sorting out everything I need to like perfectly run 35s and to do it right. So I've been slowly going through this process. I'm nearing the end. I'm hoping sometime this summer I can release a video that is basically explaining every single step you probably should do when you're trying to fit 35s. So I've been testing out some different products, and that's kind of why this is taking so long. I'm trying to figure out what works the best that's not going to require a crazy amount of effort, but we'll kind of see how that goes. So stay tuned for that. But today we're going to be talking about some tech for your vehicle. So a lot of people will run this whether you have 35s or not. But I think it's especially helpful if you have 35. So what we're going to be talking about is the ScanGauge 3. This is kind of a diagnostic sort of device that you plug into your OBD2 port, and it's really helpful. It just gives you a lot of different information that for some reason they don't just display on the head unit. It'd be really nice if they would just do this, because then you could have this information at your fingertips no matter what, but for some reason most of it's hidden. So this will give you access and information to most of the sensors on your vehicle, a lot of temperatures, airflows, PSIs for your tires, different things like this. So what we're first going to do, going to unbox the product, just kind of show it to you a little bit. I have a custom way of mounting this to my dash, which I think is kind of cool. I'll also just kind of show how they would recommend you mount it to your dash if you were just using what comes with the product. But yeah, kind of a cool little way to do it. I have a Rago Fabrication dash mount, but this would work with any sort of dash mount. So unboxing, show you how I'm going to mount it. We'll mount it up. Then I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the MPGs I'm getting with my 35s, because the dash one in between your speedometer and tachometer are just not going to be accurate. So this will give you an accurate MPG reading and all the other things that are kind of interesting and necessary when you're starting to run 35s and modify your vehicle, and you want to keep a close eye on this stuff. So I know we really, in particular, will care about transmission temperatures, because sometimes people run an aftermarket transmission cooler if you've got a lot of weight and big tires. And then a lot of people just won't monitor your PSI because you air down and air up a lot. So let's jump right in. I'm going to show you this product and yeah, everything it's capable of and how I've used it and where I've put it and all those sorts of things. So let's jump right into it. All right, today we are going to be unboxing this right here. This is the ScanGauge. I've actually taken all the contents out of the box, but this is how it comes straight from the factory or wherever you order it from. So what you get inside of the bag is just a bunch of different pieces. Some is like adhesive and magnets, and then you get this little piece right here, which is from the suction cup arm. So typically how it ships, it's got this little thingy right on here like this. I'll reattach it. Okay, so this is what comes. You stick it to your windshield. It's got a little magnet mount here. We've got a piece of adhesive and a magnet here as well for attaching the magnet to the back of the screen. The screen comes in this handy dandy little packing. And then I'm going to start showing you all of the stuff I ordered on Amazon, all kinds of other little goodies. So, yeah, just to show you here, inside this we've got a couple magnets, and then we've got, this is double-sided adhesive to put this on the magnet so we can stick it to the back of the screen, which on the back we don't have anything, it's just that one plug. So, have to attach that magnet. Then we've got this cable here that is included, which is basically the OBD2 cable that plugs into the back of it, goes to your OBD2 port. So that's for that. I've got some instructions here, how to calibrate certain things. We'll get into that later. So what I want to talk about is a couple things I ordered on Amazon. I'll have all these linked down below, but I love these. So basically, if you don't have any sort of dash mount or anything, this might be a good option for you. But personally, sometimes these suction cups can be a little unreliable. This one actually looks really nice because you can see it's got like this whole lever and everything. So I think this would be a good option if you didn't have a dash mount. Sometimes you can be a little spotty, but this one looks pretty good. But what we can do here is unspin that, spin it off. This whole thing pops right off of there. So if you've seen these sort of little ball mounts, this is like a ram mount paradise right here. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna pop this off. I have done a little bit of measuring before this. This is a 17mm ball. So if we hop on Amazon, never heard of this brand before, but it's plastic and I can't believe it can't be anything too crazy. This is a reducer or conversion arm between a 17mm and a 1-inch ball. So what we can do is we take this little converter, pop it on here, and then tighten this down. Just like that. And then what we've got here is a ram mount 1-inch ball. There's lots of 1-inch ball options. You don't have to use this particular one, but this one's pretty cheap and I like it. Also, I have one that I'm already using on my Rago Fabrication dash mount. And then you could grab any sort of arm length, but I like the little shorty arm so that I don't have everything hanging out in the middle of my center console space. But we've got this little baby arm here, and that allows us to connect one end to the other. So now what we have here is a nice little arm and bracket point on my dash mount for the scan gauge. And this will be right next to my cell phone, which is awesome. I like the location. So there you go. I did something very similar with my phone mount, just getting all these different things. I think the 17mm ball is pretty universal for like Chinese made magnet mounts for phones. So I've liked this kind of approach, and this is basically a duplicate of it. So I was pretty stoked that this little mount here was also a 17mm ball. All right, so now that we've got all of that sorted, just wanted to show you that, but we'll get that out of the way. I don't know if I'll need the suction cup, but I'll keep it around. Last thing we're gonna do here is I have a couple of things that I like to plug into my OBD2 port. So if you're somebody who has other things using your OBD2 port right now, I found this splitter on Amazon, seems to be decent. I'll link it down below as well, but I don't think it's anything too fancy. But yeah, all right, well, I think we're good to go. Let's jump over to the vehicle and let's get this thing installed. Okay, so basically all we've done here is using a 10mm. I've removed these 4 bolts underneath the head unit. Very similar for any other vehicle or 4Runner in trim level. They're, I think, all identical. I did have to unplug the climate controls, which you just pull here. They're held in by clips. If you got more questions about that, I've got like 5 videos where I pull apart my dash at this point. So now what we're gonna do is we'll just pop this out, and I'm gonna figure out a way to run a cable down underneath here in the dash mount. It's gonna come through here and then run down behind here. So just gotta figure out where I wanna make a hole so that I can run this. I'm gonna end up drilling a little bit into the plastic, which kind of stinks, but it's not the end of the world. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that now, and then route my wire down through here and around underneath the footwell area. So that's kind of the plan. Just gotta drill the hole. All right, let's get into it. All right, I don't know if you can see this, but I just did a little notch right over here, and I'm hoping I can route my little wire through there. So I don't think this should really cause any problems. What I would probably do if I was being really responsible is put a grommet on this and then drill a hole completely through it. But what I'm gonna try and attempt to do is keep my visibility to the clock right up here. So I'm gonna mount the scan gauge to these 2 bolts here. So that's kind of the plan. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull the cable up through here for the scan gauge and kind of pre-route it and then bolt this back in, because I hate having to hold the head unit while I'm working. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come around the air duct right up through here, just like this. Keep it behind the head unit, just like this. All right. That's pretty good. Shove all this stuff back up in here, just like so. Make sure the two air ducts aren't blocked by anything. All right, so that should be all lined up as forward. Oh, well, it almost seems like you could just sneak it through there without drilling the hole. It's hard to say, but I think we got it all sorted. All right, so we've got the OBD2 splitter here. I'm gonna plug that in under the dash in a little bit. First of all, got a 5/32 Allen key. I'm just quick popping out these screws so that we can mount up our ram mount, just like so. Another thing that's really nice is, like, every time you get something like this, you don't have to like do a massive install, because a fair amount of this stuff is like already done, which is just kind of nice. Like, I did this dash mount install for my phone mount and now it's done, so now all this stuff I can just add quickly. And all I'm doing is I'm mounting this first, because I want to make sure that it's good to go before I decide to plug everything in and route the cable. So this is, I think, should be good. I'm gonna take this, kind of angle it towards me, tighten that up. This cable needs a teeny bit more length. There we go. So I got the back of this all put together. What you do is the red side of the adhesive goes on the scan gauge, yellow side goes on the metal plate. Then the metal plate has like this white backing you have to pull off. So this should all be good to go. What I'm gonna do is plug in the scan gauge and then stick this on our magnet itself, and we should be good to go. Might see if I can lower this arm as much as possible, and then maintain my view of the clock there. All right, scan gauge should be in a good spot now, and it's plugged in. So now all we got to do is route the cable to the OBD2. We should be good to go. Grab my phone here. Perfect, and I can see the clock right through that little crack. Everything should be good. All right, I'm liking how this sits. Let's get the cable routed, and then we'll be done. That's simple. So one thing you could do if you really cared is probably route this cable from the OBD2 side first. Getting this OBD2 block through here is going to be probably just fine, but maybe a little annoying. I wanted to make sure the cable length was just right, but I have a feeling I'm going to have a hard time getting that through there. All right, so I was able to get the cable routed. Now all we're going to do is put in these last couple of screws that I took out. Shouldn't take too much work. I like to start them by hand, and then I'll crank them in with the drill. I've got this little baby Hercules drill that's really nice for working in small spaces in the truck. So that's what I've been using. Sun's really hitting the head unit in a way that really exposes me, but it's really not that dirty in here. It's just kind of dusty, but such is life in an off-road vehicle. Pretty tough to keep the dust out. All right, once we get these bolts in, give them a little crank. There. There we go. Okay,
Then we're gonna take our AC or climate controls, dust off some of the crap I got on them from drilling plastic in the truck. Pretty dumb. Oh, check that out. The scan gauge turned on for whatever reason. Guess it's connecting to the vehicle. I think it'll primarily only turn on when you've got your vehicle turned on, but maybe it's triggered by the key being nearby. All right, well, let's just kind of see what it looks like when we start it up. We've got the center console all sorted here. So that's all put back together. It's really quite quick and simple. Couple of clips, couple of bolts. All right. To say to head unit, small plug. Really love this head unit. And I put a little topo custom background on it, which I think is pretty sweet. All right. Let's see here if our scan gauge will boot up. It says it's connecting. It's getting power, so it should be all plugged in correctly. It's not like there's a problem with the Amazon splitter or anything. That all should be just fine. Setup. So there's a couple of things as far as setup goes. You can like measure your miles per gallon way more efficiently and accurately through this by tracking like when you fill up and stuff like that. So we'll do that eventually. Just waiting for the vehicle. Maybe I need to turn it on. Not sure how long the connecting is going to take. All right, so the vehicle is turned to the on position. It says, when the home screen is displayed, your scan gauge is connected and has established communication with your vehicle's computer. So, there, oh, connecting went away. I guess we're good to go. Okay, so now it says, set up your scan gauge. Your new scan gauge must first be set up so that you may report accurate information about your vehicle. To access the setup options, press the More button and press Setup. All right, color presets. Let's do gray. Menu color is gray. Gauge color is gray. Vehicle, tank size. Oh geez. I actually don't know the information for this. We'll come back to that. Units. Yep. Miles, yep. Gallon, yep. Currency, dollars, yep. Pressure, PSI. Speed, not gonna adjust speed right now. Fuel price, none of that. Advanced, no. Fuel and tank, speed. All right. All right, let's figure out how many gallons we should put in there. So if we go back to setup here and we go to units, or actually we go to adjust, actually no, vehicle, tank size, this is 23 gallons, engine size there, fuel type is gas. All right, perfect. So that should be good. All right, we can customize a lot, but I don't think we can, doesn't look like we're able to change how often it sleeps or stays awake, at least that I've figured out so far. I'll figure out a way to do it because I think it would be nice for it to just stay on all the time, but we'll see. Maybe I won't want that. All right, so just kind of messing around, I kind of jumped the gun. What we are going to do is click the X gauge, which will autofill a bunch of information based on the vehicle that you enter in. So let's go ahead and do that now once this wakes back up. So one really nice thing that this is going to monitor is the miles per gallon, the transmission temperatures, and also your instantaneous fuel level, and your tire pressure. So what we have to do though is you have to do 2 separate fill-ups in order to essentially do this. So it's just going to take a little bit to get that all sorted. Right now, I don't actually have a 5th tire pressure gauge, so that's why it's all out of whack. But it looks like all my other tires are roughly at 40 PSI, which is a little bit high, but I guess I've been used to it. So, all right, now if we go to gauges, let's see here. I've got a bunch of stuff there. Don't have tire pressure sensors on this screen at all, so lay out a little bit, but the Fuel Eco one looks kind of nice. So I think first page we'll do Fuel Eco, and 2x3. Let's do, wow, so much to customize. All right, well, that's kind of a cool screen for now. I'm going to run to the gas station and fill up the tank, and I think that will help us with kind of testing this out. So I've got to fill up my tank anyways. This is a good time.
So in case some of these last pictures aren't clear, basically I've just been recording my daily driving to work, most of which is on the highway. I don't really, you know, stop and go a lot in traffic. Sometimes there's traffic, but typically it's just kind of smooth sailing for 30 miles an hour for probably a fourth or fifth of the drive, and then the rest of it's 60 miles per hour kind of off and on. So I've noticed that the car is really quite efficient at 60 miles per hour, especially if you're just driving slowly and constantly. So that kind of shows me that the gear ratio I have is pretty close to good, maybe a little bit over geared. But yeah, it might be just about right for those bigger tires, given kind of how the vehicle is designed. But yeah, I've got about 14.5 to 16.5 miles per gallon on this trip, and that's been my average. I took pictures of, you know, roughly 3 or 4, whatever it was, the trips that I've taken. But I've been watching this for like probably 3 or 4 weeks now. And that's really what I'm about getting. So it's pretty awesome. I guess I'm actually getting quite good gas mileage on 35s. My roof rack is completely empty because I need to fit in a 7-foot garage space. So, you know, take that into account. But as you saw in that other photo, I took the 4Runner out to trail built 4x4, pulling a trailer to pick up 37s. And there'll be some content partnering with Trail Built soon, so that'll be coming. But I was pulling a small aluminum trailer with all the 37s, and then I had my cases on my roof rack, so definitely not as aerodynamic, and I was pulling some more weight. And I was still getting like 12-ish miles per gallon, and that was going over 60 miles per hour. That was going like 70, 75. So I did notice when I drove out to Colorado in March, I did have a tune on at the time, but I was getting like 70, I was going like 75, 80 miles per hour, and I was getting horrible gas mileage. I think it was like 9 or 10, but I didn't have my scan gauge at the time, so it was really hard to kind of tell. I was trying to calculate it based on using my Onyx Off-Road app to set the speed. So speaking of setting the speed, when you get this scan gauge, that's another thing you're gonna wanna dial in. All I did was I put my phone with Onyx Off-Road up next to my scan gauge, and it will show you your instantaneous speed. So you take that and you kind of watch the two between the scan gauge and your phone, and then you adjust it accordingly. So if you don't have 35s, you might need to do, you know, 3, 4, 5% versus 6 or 7% like I'm doing. But yeah, this device is really awesome, and you can get these for any device, so they're not 4Runner specific. They definitely are helpful. And if you're running a non-stock setup, this is gonna give you a lot of interesting and helpful information about your vehicle. And I think it's really nice too for just keeping kind of a diagnostic tool around in case anything were to ever go wrong. You can also use this to like check codes on your vehicle, and I think you can clear codes as well with it. So it's got a lot of other features other than just being like a fancy screen with a bunch of numbers on it coming off your ECU. But yeah, I like this device. I think it's really something you should consider adding to your dash because I like monitoring all this stuff. It gives me peace of mind, and it's also just information that's really nice to know when you're out there on the trail. And if you've got 35s and you're trying to figure out what kind of MPG you actually get an accurate number. So that's going to be it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to grab one of these scan gauges, I'm going to have everything linked down in the description below. But I appreciate all the support from all of you, and I will catch you all in the next video.